This is a run through on how to use Flowol. Start, then All Programs, then Applications, ICT, then Flowol version 4.11. Ignore the other two versions. When Flowol loads, you get the welcome screen where you can use a mimic, connect to an interface, or open a flowchart that was saved earlier. In this case, we're going to use a mimic. Okay, you get the list of mimics. Mimics just basically show you a virtual version of a real world situation. So in this case, we're just going to use dead simple zebra crossing. You can see that we've got the lights that can be clicked on and off. And if we click on show, it just shows you the name of the input, or output in this case. Right, now that we have the mimic open, we're going to create a very simple flowchart. Any flowchart has to start with the start button. So we tell it to start. Then we have an output where we tell it to do something. In this case, we're going to turn the light on. Because we want it to look like it's flashing, we're going to have to turn the light back off again. But before we do that, we want to leave the light on for a short period of time. So I'm going to set it for 0.5 seconds. Then I'm going to turn the light off again. And again, I'm going to put a delay in of 0.5 seconds. Now, in order to make the flowchart work, I have to join it together using the line tool. And it's a case of clicking. Now, what I could do, I could stop it, but that would only make the lights flash once. I'm going to loop it so that it will keep running constantly. So I'll click there and then back to the start. And what it will tell it to do is to work its way through, step by step, and when it reaches this point, run back to the beginning. You can see this in action now. If you have a look at the mimic, you can see the lights flashing. If you want to change anything, you have to click on stop, and then we can go back to the delay, clear it, and I'll put in 0.3 of a second. And then I'll run it again. And you can see that the light's flashing that little bit faster now. And that is a very basic flowchart. Now we're going to have a look at use decisions in Flowol. We're going to use a mimic again, this time the robot. Okay, it's very simple, straightforward thing we're going to do. We have outputs for the left eye, the right eye, the antenna, and the mouth. We also have input, so buttons, which are square, triangle, circle, star. You'll notice that as I click them, they turn yellow here. We also have the input and the output marked. So I'm going to deselect them all. Now we're going to start off with start, as usual. Then I'm going to put a decision in. So in this case, is the square on? And then OK. So I'm asking there whether or not the square button's been pressed. I'm going to have two different outputs depending on the answer. So if the button is pressed, I'm going to open the mouth. If the button isn't pressed, we're going to close the mouth. Now to join it up. I use the line tool, but when I get to the decision, I have two options. I have a yes and a no. So yes, I'm going to link to opening the mouth, and no, I'm going to link to closing the mouth. And then I'm going to loop both of these back. Now when I run it, you'll see that it's going to start. It's checking to see whether the square button's been pressed, and because it hasn't, it's making sure the mouth's shut. When I click on the square, you'll notice first off that the mouth is open. Now it's asking the question whether or not the square is on, and because it's yes, it's turning the mouth on, so it's opening it and then running back to start, and it will keep doing that for as long as the button is pressed. And you can see how it works.